Yesterday, I did. This is my job. All right, microphone. This is a test. This is a day. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And we're going to start church. Right. We are.
Marlow Hall. Thank you to those who are joining us on channel 901 or channel 11, and for those on the live stream from around the world, perhaps. Thank you for coming to the community update here at Riverwoods 2024. We have some really special guests that I'll introduce in a moment. It's a real pleasure to do the senior leader community updates in addition to our update on February 8th, where our community leaders gave updates on the 2023 highlights and the 2024 priorities. Today, we're going to look at some Asbury-wide ones so we can see our place as part of the big organization. If I haven't met you, my name is Aaron Barth. I'm the executive director at Riverwoods, and I'm joined today by our CEO of the Asbury Communities, Doug Leidick, who we'll have up in a moment. Sue Paul, the Senior Director for Wellbeing and Brain Health. And Todd Andrews, our president of our communities, who's normally here, sends his regrets. There was actually, unfortunately, a fire at the Asbury Methodist Village last night that displaced 5 residents. No one's passed, thankfully, but he had to give his attention to that. So we have a special guest that I'll bring up after I read through the agenda and introduce J.D. Schumann in a second. But today we're going to focus on 5 things, particularly the way that the Asbury communities have evolved, including the 100-year centennial campaign that JD will tell us about, key strategic focus area updates, exploring possibilities for living our best lives. We're going to celebrate a belonging moment and then talk about paving the path to being well-being destinations. So I'd like to introduce JD Schumann, if you'd come up with me. Sorry we don't have a photo, but he is very, very good looking, and you'll see that on camera. And he's the president of the Asbury Foundation. We're fortunate to have him here today. Thanks.
Appreciate it. The less photos, the better, my friend. All right. So, yes, thank you, everyone, for coming out. If you were at the launch celebration this morning, some of what I'm going to share is repetitive, but fortunate for everyone here, not the joke that I told. That will not, yes, you're welcome. You don't have to hear that again. Okay. So, Asbury turns 100 in 2026. We recognize that Albright has gone through that, right? Riverwoods has celebrated 100 years, but you're fortunate to be in the Asbury family now, and you get to do it again. And we're leveraging that 100-year celebration in the form of a campaign we have titled Everyday Exceptional. And this campaign was birthed back in September of 2020. That is when the foundation board approved a new strategic plan that not only incorporated a quiet phase of the campaign, and I'll touch base on that here in a moment, but it also incorporated key areas of focus within our strategic plan. That includes benevolent care, associate scholarships, education and support, capital, innovation, and special programs. So we've expanded the ways that donors can impact Riverwoods here. And that was a big part of that strategic planning process. But the quiet phase of the campaign, I asked this question this morning at the launch, and I'll ask it again here. How many of you have been part of a campaign ever in your? Okay. Then you know that philanthropy is part science and part art. The art is inspiration, inspiring people to action, and aligning their passions to opportunities. The science is making sure you have the dollars and you have the donors to be successful. And so a quiet phase of a campaign has a benchmark. Science says that you want to be at that 55, 60% mark before you go public and announce to everyone that you're having the campaign. Well, in March of this year, March 1st, we exceeded $38 million towards our $60 million system-wide campaign goal. At $38 million, any math wizards? 63%. Well, as of today, we're actually closer to 40 million. We're at 65% of the goal. So we are launching this campaign with a lot of momentum, a lot of excitement. And the campaign, as I mentioned, it's a $60 million goal. And that goal includes all of those key areas of focus. Every single gift that is given, whether it's for benevolent care, whether it's helped someone get a scholarship this year, or whether it's for the Associate Appreciation Fund, whatever that gift was given for has counted towards the 39 million that we've hit. And every dollar moving forward is going to count towards that $60 million goal. So we're really excited. Again, a lot of momentum, a lot of energy. The wind is definitely behind our sails. mentioned that the campaign started, the quiet phase, in September of 2020. So that 39 million has been over the last 3 years. That's pretty impressive. That's an incredible donor family. I also want to share every dollar that's given here at Riverwoods stays at Riverwoods. We're not having dollars from all of you go to help rebuild a place that had a fire or good associates at Bethany Village. Every dollar that's given stays here at Riverwoods. And the same thing applies because we get that question everywhere. Can you make sure my gift doesn't go up and help Riverwoods? Happens all the time. All right. So as we move forward, the foundation is going to be here on a little bit more regular basis. You'll hear more from us. We're going to meet with individuals to see not just how they might make an impact, but if they're willing to share their story as well. This campaign is all about donors fulfilling their passions through transformational opportunities here at Riverwood. So we're looking forward to it. Thanks for everything you all do. And look forward to seeing you a lot more in the future. All right. All right, Doug. And so Doug's been introducing me at all of the launches. It's my distinguished pleasure to introduce. Distinguished might be it. But yeah, Doug Lighting. Doug's been a great leader, something that you all should be aware of. Our leadership team and our boards, both the foundation board and the Asbury Communities board, all 100% participation in this campaign already. That's a big deal. That's something that we're really proud of and grateful for. Thanks, Doug, for your leadership.
Thank you. So I did ask Aaron to make it a little warmer. That'd be great. So this it's like homecoming week. It's been great to be back. I was actually flipping through some pictures at home the other day, and I was the executive director here from 95 to 2000, 96 to 2000. And interestingly enough, excuse me, I can't in my mouth. I've been talking for 2 weeks. My voice is shot. My dad was actually the nursing home administrator here for a little bit under me. So it was sort of a family affair. Jerry Westling was the CEO at that time. I was flipping through some pictures, and in this hall, my son was born across the street in Van. I got married while I was executive director here, and I had pictures of him in a Halloween costume having a Halloween event here at Marlowe Hall. So it was sort of a reminiscence. It was really pretty neat. My name is Doug Leidig, and I do want to say just a little bit about the fire at Kinley. It was an assisted living at Asbury Methodist Village. At 1:30 in the morning, a resident, family member probably, sort of snuck in, and we did not catch an electric blanket, and that blanket caught on fire. And fortunately, she was not burned. The sprinkler system worked. The team went into action, and we had fire trucks. And the sprinkler head went down 5 stories, displaced the residents. There was one fall due to help with the firemen evacuating somebody. So all, I mean, it was a tragedy avoided because of the great work the associates do there, just like the great work the associates here do. So nursing assistant by background, and so I understand what that takes. I'm proud of that, and you all as well, because that could have been tragic. So we're happy with the outcome and getting it fixed, and they should be back in the rooms probably the next 2 to 3 days. We had all the systems and teams there. That was. I'm going to talk a little bit just quickly about some of our growth. And I'm going to follow up. I think Todd has in his town halls has usually given some growth updates. I'm going to give a little bit of update about 2 of our most recent acquisitions. So I'm going to flip through quick. There we go. So this is Ivy Gables. So Ivy Gables is in Wilmington, Delaware. It's Newcastle County, and it's our first. Actually, it's our first endeavor to Delaware, and this was owned and built by a person who owned a construction company, and so it was very well built, and it's ILAL and memory support. It's small. It's only has a $5 million budget, 42 residents, and 30 associates, but it's got a great waiting list, and it is. It's about 15 minutes from the Philadelphia airport, to give you an idea, to help you out where it's at. At the same time, we bought Grace Park. That's the sister facility of Ivy Gables. So this construction person built both these campuses. And this one is in outside the Pocono Mountains in Stroudsburg, PA. It was really interesting. We were there in January, heard them and speaking to them, and I am telling you, New York accent right? Which I'm from PA. I grew up in Chambersburg, lived here. It was surprising, and I started talking. I mean, I'm talking heavy Bronx accent, and I was asking them why. And they said a lot of people from New York used to vacation to Poconos. Poconos has exploded, and so they're all now relocating down there. So it's a great community. It has the IL, and it is a little over $6 million budget, 95 residents, 55 staff. No skilled in either one of those. And that sort of reflects a little bit about our new growth strategy. While we will not stay away from skilled care, we're looking for opportunities that don't have a lot of skilled, or if any. And usually what you do is partner with a skilled provider in that area. And you'll see something in a moment when I talk about Tennessee. This is a trend in our industry. There's a lot of downsizing of skilled. There's a lot of joint ventures being created with people who only run skilled and those of us who run retirement community. So it's a transition, and they do that very well. But I think there's more and more. What happened is about 10, 15 years ago, a lot of private for-profit individuals get into this, and they saw this big, all these aging coming, and they started building these AAL, assisted living and independent living rentals. But they were probably 25 years ahead of when somebody really knows what we have. So now they're starting to fill them up and sell them, and that's provides a great opportunity for us because now we're much more in a region, and we're having more opportunities now. I know Todd has talked about Tennessee, so I'm happy to report this has been a several-year journey with our two communities in Tennessee, going through multiple master repositioning, master planning. We now have new ownership with that since January of 2024. We started a financial restructuring of that in 2022, and there's a lot on that campus, and we had managed them for several years, and we had affiliated with them probably about 10 years ago. And so we've been working to reposition them, and we were at the point where this just wasn't sustainable for us as the sole owner. So we tried to work with some of the bondholders and debt, and they weren't exactly playing along nicely. So what we did is we found a venture capital group, 5 individuals. Have one person has the money behind them, but they're operators. So together we put a bid in campus with the bondholders, eliminated about $30 million of debt. We're 40% minority owner, so it's technically owned by McFarland, who's a for-profit company, but then we're also paid now a management fee to manage it. So we protected the residents, the entry fees, the continuation of the campus. So it's a great win-win. It's actually probably one of maybe three in the country that has happened. And I wouldn't doubt that that's going to happen more and more, just because the reason we grew, starting back in 1990, when the board of directors said, we can't continue to do this alone. And we've been saying that for 15 years in this industry. None of us can do this alone. That's why two strong organizations like Albright and Asbury came together. There's much more power in numbers. And so now we're venturing out the world, and we're not just partnering with not-for-profits. We're venturing with for-profits. And we can learn a lot from for-profits as well. So it's an exciting time. Residents are happy. They're protected. Bondholders aren't real happy with us, but that wasn't our concern. Our concern was the residents of that campus. So all in all, we continue to grow. Here's a little snapshot. We are 11 communities, 4 states. 6 of them are here in PA. 6 communities are here in PA. We serve 4,200 residents, and they're served by over 2,600 awesome associates. We have business lines that support those communities. And of course, our life program here in PA, Albright has, that supports seniors with limited financial income. And we are now the 14th largest not-for-profit system in the country. Now, that's a nice badge to wear, but really the benefit, very similar to the 60 million. It's a great badge to have, but it's what you can do with that. That's the important part, and what we can do with the strength of our numbers in terms of efficiencies, economies of scale, purchasing, professional development opportunities for our associates, et cetera. So we're in an exciting time. We went through a lot in 2023, but 2024 is looking good, and we're on an upward trend. So I want to thank you all for your commitment, associates for what you do every day, residents for your support, because again, it's a joint effort. So I'm happy to be here, and I thank you for a few moments. So you want me to do it nice? Oh, Aaron? Oh, you can do it.
So thinking at Riverwoods and Beyond, if you recall, a couple of years ago, we released the updated strategic focus areas, the upgraded mission statement, guiding principles. If you've seen those framed pictures around campus, it has our mission statement, which is exploring possibilities to live your best life, our guiding principle, doing all the good we can with integrity, transparency, and grace, our envisioned future, which I can't recite, but it involves being a leader in technology and other areas of senior living. And then within each division of the Asbury Corporation, there are key strategic focus areas. So we are in the communities pillar of Asbury. There's also a Thrive Well Tech IT branch and things like that we'll hit in a second. But one of our strategic focus areas will be that Asbury communities are well-being destination communities. Sue's going to talk a lot about this, so I won't steal her thunder, but you'll know if you've been around with David Schaffler and his team across the campus now. He's brought in activities under his umbrella. So Bethany and her team are working with David, with Kim Chandler and Adam Turner, brain health and fitness. So we're trying to get more and more robust. Bethany's leading an activities council to enhance resident activities across campus. So we are really making it a priority to make well-being something that distinguishes Asbury communities from others. And there's the perfect example of Alan and Joanne walking through campus. Asbury is the number one on, you'll have to help me. What is the association that ranked us number one? ICAA. And if you explain what that means later, I'll appreciate it. But we had two communities in the top 5, and this year I hope Asbury hits the top 30. I mean, Riverwoods breaks into the top 30. Some of you will know Andrea Mertz and her team, but one of our strategic focus areas is that Asbury will become a diversified aging services organization. So that means not just therapy, but we do well in our life programs, in our pharmacy, in our therapy, having a source of revenue from something other than our residents paying their monthly fees or their daily rates. So we want to be diversified where we don't just depend on our resident fees to be earning an income. We're also doing things outside of the traditional models so that we can spread things out. And I'm going to grab my notes so I don't keep having to turn back. So if any of you are venture capitalists that want to help Doug diversify with our senior leadership team, just raise your hand and let us know. As I mentioned, as one of our vision futures in 7 years, so it's 5 years from now because we released it 2 years ago, is that Asbury would be a leader in healthcare technology solutions. And so the Thrive Well Tech organization within Asbury, but their goal is to actually solicit and gain clients that are outside of the Asbury communities. Do you have a number? We have 4 clients besides Asbury that ThriveWell has managed to now be supporting. And the goal is to grow that because then that brings in revenue to Asbury as a whole through that IT infrastructure. You'll know that last year we invested significantly in the fiber optic cable and in the Wi-Fi upgrades. That's a foundational thing. So then 5 years from now, our residents and our associates are experiencing a much higher level of technology. That we're leaders in that field. We have to get some of the infrastructure in place to do that. Some of the projects that are being tested are collaborative efforts in fall prevention. So things like in-home monitoring, where you might have devices that are tracking a resident's movement throughout the day, and if suddenly the data tracking is noticing there's no movement, that's an indication maybe that triggers a personal care aide to come and check on that resident in a more frequent manner than they may have. These are different IT things that can actually help us deliver better care, take some of the burden off our skilled or our personal care teams. And if independent living residents would ever consent to some project like that, you might even help in an IL context where we don't necessarily go and check on people, but there may be an alert system that's created by our IT team to help manage the risk that people may have. A real big priority is in our associates, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But for Asbury to be a high-performing organization, we need associate retention and growth. And so the encouraging news is that our turnover has lessened over the last 3 years, as you can see by these statistics. The foundation has made a much bigger effort to promote associate scholarships. Several of our associates applied before the deadline last week for this round's scholarships. We want to invest in our people because we know that people are really the engine and the heart of the organization running forward into the future. Another of the strategic focus areas is called the belonging at Asbury. The summary of the belonging initiative is that we want to create a place where associates can be their full selves and maximize their contribution because they feel really safe and excited to come to work at Riverwoods and at Asbury communities in general. So the initiative was launched over a year ago for an Asbury-wide belonging council that takes a look at things like do certain segments of the population feel comfortable working in Asbury? Are minority groups represented well? Just asking open-ended questions, and they then could now analyze the data from the Associated Great Places to Work survey. That council then, this year, 2024, has been pushed locally, and we had our first Riverwoods local belonging council in February. Skip on the technology today has offered to serve as the chair for the Riverwoods Belonging Council, and we've got a group of 4 who are just taking a look at how can we at Riverwoods be a place that promotes people from all walks of life to feel like they belong, they have a place to contribute, they feel excited to be here and have a chance to grow in their careers. Part of the more systemic way that we want to promote that is through some of the training courses. We have annual competencies, and there's a unconscious bias training that many of our associates will know is due this month. We want to not just talk about it in a general sense, but also promote it as part of the required trainings that we do every year. And so something that you'll see coming from Skip and the team in the coming months will be belonging moments. These are things where we just highlight perhaps an underrepresented group or a person who's made a contribution and represents a certain grouping of people. And so last month we highlighted that it was Women's History Month. And here's some interesting data points that are telling. You know, I gave it away. If you didn't see this slide, what percentage of women do you think work? Man, I wanted to do a quiz. So, what percentage do we think are women at Riverwoods? 50%, 75%, 90%, 75? How'd you guys know? Best group, I bet, in healthcare as a whole, females tend to overrepresent, and so it's really exciting during months like Women's Month to acknowledge the incredible value that the female population brings to the workforce. There are 1,866 female associates across Asbury, which represents 74% of the workforce. If you look at the pie chart, the executive senior level, 13% of women are in that executive senior level. 54% are in the mid-level managers and officials position, and then you can compare it to some of the male in the purple and dark blue. And I think the world of our female. On my senior leadership team, a majority are female, and the males are awesome too. So we're really fortunate to have a great team overall, but that the females especially are great role models and mentors for some of the CNAs, for some of the other aides and other positions on campus. So thank you to those of you who are female and working here. What the Belonging Council does too is finds examples, as I was mentioning, of individuals. And so Carolyn is the member of the board of directors for not only the Asbury communities, but also the Asbury Foundation. She's an example within the Asbury Corporation of a female who's risen to the top level in terms of serving on the board, and has also given back in practical ways, both to AMV and to the Asbury community in general. JD thought there were no pictures of him, but I realized we have a picture of him, and here is a quick snapshot of the ways that the 100-year Centennial campaign you mentioned can be funded. A lot of philanthropy is directed to benevolent care, which is a pool of money that's provided to residents if they run out of money for at no fault of their own. But there are other areas like capital infrastructure. People have donated because they want to see a community center or they want to see a certain aspect of a community grow that wasn't necessarily in the operational or normal budget. We've made a bigger push, as I mentioned, for scholarships for individuals to grow in their careers. There's a lot of innovation, things like the brain health program. But the big one on the bottom left is special purpose programs. And we have a lot of examples at Riverwood of people who didn't necessarily uh, have know where to put their money, but they knew that they were passionate, for example, about music therapy for people with memory issues. And so we have a group of residents who are funding actively a music therapist to serve in memory care once a week. And that music is one of the last things to go when there's memory issues. So it's a really beautiful example that people gave uh, to the community. It wasn't in the budget normally, but now is a huge part of the fabric of the memory care unit. So as you see, JD and Susan Marinick and Fran Ashby and others come around over the coming 2 years, please consider giving. And it doesn't have to be huge, as we see the music therapy costs about $5,000 a year to fund that position. It'll go up a little bit each year, but that's a lot for one person. But if you have a group of 3 or 4, as we do now, that's a more manageable thing. As residents, as associates, we give, some people give out of their Friday paycheck and it goes to benevolent care. So you don't have to think that you have to have $100,000. You can give $100 a year, or you can give $25 a week, whatever it may be that works for you to get the momentum going. And here are examples of just the way that over the years we've grown. The people that were here in 1916 at the Slifer House could never imagine where we are now, and that's part of what the Centennial Campaign is trying to promote. Imagining where we'll be in 100 years, start dreaming big and giving towards that kind of initiative. And then, of course, lots of ice cream when possible from our engagement committee there on the bottom right here at Riverwoods. All right, on to surveys and talk of how we're doing statistically. So we just did a resident survey for our independent living residents that ended in March. We got 107 responses. We specifically wanted to know how we were doing on 6 areas that we had scored the weakest on in last June's resident survey. So I'm disappointed to say we didn't improve in 5 out of 6 of them, and so we still have work to do. I'll read the questions in a second, but Skip and I already came around for street and floor meetings to cover safety and fire, but also we addressed some of these questions. And I'll quickly read them. But the 6 questions were: in recommending this facility to your family, how would you rate it all overall? We scored really well. We got 78% in 2023 overall survey, but we only got 53% in this survey. So at least for the 107 that responded, only half would recommend. How would you rate the food? Scored low, which has been we're going to talk about dining. I'm satisfied with the value I receive for what I pay. The management is responsive to my questions and concerns. I'm satisfied with the quality and consistency of the food. I'm satisfied with the variety of the food. And the only one that improved was transportation options to where I need to go are available when I need them. So we take it seriously because we wanted to improve on these. We didn't improve in terms of scores. It's hard to see, but I hear that the general response for these 107 was actually lower than our overall survey in June. For dining, in IL specifically, you'll notice a lot of improvements because the team has recognized from these survey results that there's a lot of room to grow. Additionally, we've invited 2 companies to come and bid for the opportunity to provide dining services to the campus overall. Currently, manages our dining services throughout the campus, and we're providing opportunity for a company called Compass and one called Airmark to evaluate and see if they might wish to provide services to campus. So we will probably know an update on that in the next community update when that time comes. And this is an Asbury-wide dining consideration. if we may end up deciding to stay with Sodexo, or it may be that all Asbury moves to one of the other two companies to provide dining overall. In terms of what that means for jobs, we've talked to the managers here on campus, guys like Bill Miller and Chris Brown and their teams. Obviously feel nervous, but we want to, we want to assure them that we're going to do the best for them in whatever way that means. The most of the dining team are actually employed by Riverwood, so this is going to affect most of the management, depending on what direction things go. So actually, before I carry on, there'll be a resident survey again, the full one in June and July. I want to encourage you to take it. If you really haven't improved, please indicate as such. If you do, though, think it's positive, it's really important to do that survey so we hear the positive voices, and also to realize if you mark a 3, it actually counts. It doesn't count towards the score in a positive sense. We'll only get credit for a positive response if it's a 4 or a 5. So if it says, "Do you trust the management?" and you put a 3, the survey will read that as you don't trust them, even if you're not negative, you're neutral. That is an indication that we have a lot of work to do. So if you're being positive but you want to be moderate in that regard, go to a 4, because then it will be a positive result in the end. But if you don't feel positively, then don't do that. But be honest, but keep in mind that the 4 and 5 is where we get the scores to be positive. That's a diplomatic way to say what I was saying. Top accomplishments in 2023. Please do, if you didn't get to watch the February 8th town hall, it was really fun. We made a lot of Taylor Swift jokes because it was right around the Super Bowl, and you got to see each manager and director around campus have their 15 minutes of fame. So here are some of the highlights that I pulled from that. We initiated the brain health program last year. It's a great effort by the entire well-being team. It's expanding now into PC, into skilled nursing, and I'm excited to see where that grows. We added the Icon resident engagement platform. So the most visible way you see it, right even outside of Marlowe Hall, is on these big TV monitors that are being displayed to let you know what activities and what events are happening around campus today and in the days to come. I just get so excited because I wasn't fully aware myself of all that goes on. And so imagine a family member or a community member who walks in and sees those. To me, it subconsciously says, wow, there's so much going on here. This is a really cool place to live. And it will help the admissions process for Kelly or the sales process for Allison, that when people come, they say, oh, yeah, I definitely want to go to Riverwoods. So much happens there that brings the community alive. And we hope that you're seeing that through the Icon engagement platform. If you didn't know, if you have a smartphone or a computer, you can actually get the app installed on there so that you can get announcements and bulletins sent to you in case you're in the cottage or you want in your skilled room, you don't get out to those boards that often. We did a terrific job in terms of sales and occupancy. That's the first chart there on the top right. Between independent living and personal care, with 38 new residents join us, and we ended the year above our budget in both areas, where we had goals of 93% occupancy and we were at 94. And then skilled nursing all year long did above our budget. Our budget was actually 74%. We have so many empty beds that we don't budget to fill all of them, and we exceeded it last year in terms of skilled nursing. The maintenance team worked hard, and some of our contractors. We spent almost $2 million on infrastructure for the campus, and I'm really excited that this year and last year we were being more proactive. Whereas my first 2 years we were very reactive to things breaking down and roofs leaking and water features that were unintended, and hallways being replaced by actually fixing the roofs. So now we're being more proactive, and we have Skip to help lead the team in those types of things. And our budget is about $2 million again this year, so we're hopeful to make some of the significant improvements that are needed for the coming year. We have legitimately had increased resident and associate satisfaction based on survey scores. The middle of the charts is showing the resident engagement scores. You can see from 2022 to 2023, the participation rate has been high, even though it went down a little bit. But the engagement, meaning how much they trust Riverwoods and all the different aspects, went up by 12%. About 3/4 of the residents feeling positive about Riverwoods. And then we look at associates. 2022, we only had half our associates reply to the survey, which tells me we had people that felt very distrustful or didn't think their voice even mattered, so why bother taking the survey? Up to 87% in 2023. And Tammy, we can say that 2024, Riverwoods was the #1 community in terms of associate response rate of 91, 92%, 93%. And that included Gene and Betsy in the back. Skilled nursing had every single person reply to the survey, which is over 60 people. So we had 137 out of 148 associates respond to this survey. So Pam Auger is initiating a clap for those watching by live stream. You can credit her for this round of applause. So thank you, associates, for participating, because if we don't hear from you, we can only guess or have anecdotes about what we need to do better on. So we're really thankful. We don't know the results yet, but we can say that 93% engagement in terms of taking the survey is incredible. And finally, from a clinical standpoint, we have an enhanced call-bell system that's now fully integrated into personal care and into the skilled nursing. And it's a redundant system, meaning a light will go on and the device in the nursing team's hand will go off. That was important to me because if you walk down the hall, I want to be able to help even if I'm not carrying a device. Or if one of them fails that day because the Wi-Fi goes out or something, then you can still either look at the light or phone if the electricity's off. So that has led to better response times. There's still sometimes, like I said, things that break down, but that is enhancing our response times in skilled nursing and personal care areas. So as we look to 2024, again, some of our top goals, we did mention some of these in February, but to reiterate, we have to make a decision on some of these underused and unused spaces. And I've listed the 3 empty nursing care center wings, Slifer House, Gamber House. Um, One of the questions submitted was, "What's the future of Slifer?" You know, shouldn't and couldn't we do something with the money that is available in the foundation that has been used for Slifer? And the main answer to that is that we haven't found a long-term solution that would make us want to spend that money, because we don't want to spend it to get it to a good place and then there not be a it again, and then it begins to slowly deteriorate. So that's not a great satisfying answer. But if you know or have ideas that are sustainable, meaning they can bring some revenue in that space over and over each month, and be a way that the community would engage with it in a meaningful way, please bring it to our attention, because we're not hopeful with the various ideas that have come to the table, but we're always listening and open to that. We want to expand associated resident engagement achievements because we're doing so well, and I'm really excited about what our teams do. I just want to keep going. You know, if you, like I said with the icon board, you could just see something really happening somewhere on campus. We did the Eclipse event in the skilled nursing center, and the Joint Independent Living and PC event on Monday. The Wellbeing team always has something. The activities group always does. We have a volunteer appreciation meal in a week or two. There's always something happening, and so that's what makes it fun to work. And then it takes a little bit of the edge off when you've had a stressful day. That we've got this around the corner. But we want to always, from a quality standpoint, enhance our quality of care. That's a major effort, especially in the areas that are nursing related, personal care, and in skilled nursing. We've got a quality improvement team led by Amber Bartlett, our nursing home administrator, and in the personal care area, Rob Traub and Beth Straub, the LPN, lead our efforts to improve quality there. So that's important in and of itself, but in the skilled nursing world, we're also improve our star rating. When I got here, I was at 1 star, we're at 2 stars, continuing the trajectory upwards. There's 3 years of data that go into those ratings. So even though it frustrates us because we're still tied down by some poor ratings 2 years ago, I think it's fair for the community because they want to see a consistent improvement. And so then we'll benefit in 2 or 3 years when we've had 2 or 3 years of really great data in terms of our quality and our other achievements. The fourth part is something I mentioned earlier. We've got the goal and the desire to expand, and we have established, and now we want to expand the local Riverwoods Belonging Council. And so, as I told Skip, I'm encouraged and charged to lead that effort, to just start with manageable, easy steps rather than try and do some huge thing that then we can't sustain. We'll just start with the simple things where every month Asbury has identified different months that we can promote people groups that are being recognized that particular month. We can tie the events to the Associate Engagement Committee events if it's applicable, and just do things every day that promote a sense of belonging for associates that work here. And the last goal for all of us individually is to contribute to the 100-year Everyday Excellence campaign if you can, and have the means to do that. Those are my prepared remarks, and so I want to invite Sue up to tell us about paving the path to well-being destinations.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to see you, and hello to everybody at home. I love coming to Riverwoods because I do enjoy the drive, and it's a beautiful campus. So today I'm here to tell you about the strategic focus area known as creating well-being destinations. What I want to emphasize to you is that it's not just a plan that was created in a conference room and check the box, we made a plan. It's an actual blueprint that we're following, and it's really exciting to see us moving the whole thing forward and doing really well in the eyes of the industry. So one of the interesting things that's happening in well-being in the senior living industry is that it used to be that residents were looking for a community that was a caring community with well-being options. You know, moving to a place it was lots of care and then there's well-being things to do. But the paradigm shift is now that people want to move into a well-being destination that has care options because your primary thing is not to be cared for, it's to live a very robust and vibrant life. So that's the transition that we're working toward. In the strategic focus area that I'm working on, known as well-being destinations, there are three little tasks that we have to work on. One of them is creating a resident-focused well-being model. That's our Engage Well program, which I'm going to explain more about in just a minute. Special programming, which is our connection to brain health, for example. And our third one is to leverage technology to improve engagement, which is what our ICON platform is. So as you can see, we're actually being very intentional about addressing each one of these items. When we look to experts in the industry, I'm not just making this stuff up. I look to where's the research and where are the best models coming from. And I look to two pretty well-known associations in the industry. One is the ICAA, which is the International Council of Active Aging, and the other is the Mather Institute. Now, the International Council of Active Aging is the organization that awarded Asbury 3 top 25 awards in well-being last year. Asbury Solomons being number 1 in the nation, Asbury Methodist Village being number 8, and Asbury Spring Hill being number 17. Got it this year, Riverwoods. David, we'll do it this year. And then Doug Lighting was also chosen as one of the top 5 CEOs for senior living wellness. So there's a lot to celebrate. Apparently what we're doing for ICA, for our well-being project, is getting the industry because we're actually following what the experts tell us to do. Now, the Mather Institute, also an interesting association, does a lot of research around resident-focused initiatives because we've had different models of care throughout the years. It used to be a very medical model where the doctor was in charge. There's different, sort of evolved over the years, but everything should be resident-centered. Really, it's really about what you want. And as I explain the Engage Well program to you, you'll see how we kind of use that as the model foundation for our model. Okay, I said all that. We got it this year, though. Okay, so let's talk about this. At the bottom of this slide, we have our 7 dimensions of wellness. This comes straight from the ICAA. It's been sort of the standard for care for creating well-being programming for the past 25 years. So those 7 dimensions, maybe before, I think our well-being team kind of promotes all the dimensions of wellness. When you're having a calendar of events, you want to make sure there's something intellectual, there's something emotional and vocational, and you check all the boxes, and then boom, you have a very well-rounded set of offerings for your well-being department. But what we did is create an extra layer to this, and this is what the resident-centered part is. We went around to all the campuses a couple years ago, and we had focus groups, and we asked residents, what does well-being mean to you? What are all the things it means? And what bubbled to the top are these four themes at the top. Which you see, people said, I just want to move better. I just want to feel better. I just want to connect more. I just want to experience more. So those were the four themes that sort of added dimension to those seven other dimensions that's more personal. Because also, you're not stuck in one of those boxes, right? Like maybe today you just want to feel better. And tomorrow you want to experience more. And you want those options. And it's great to help inform our well-being team about your preferences and where you are in the circle of life and all these things that are happening to you. So that's how we've kind of fleshed out our engagement program to be resident-centered. So, as you know, our brain health program is up and running, and now we're off to the races at all of our campuses. We have a brain health coach at every campus. That's a total of 7. And it's a really great team that we've built. We meet every other week on Zoom. Here we are down in the corner, 7 of us, so the 8 of us having a conversation about best practices, what's going on in your community, just learning opportunities. We share articles, research. So it's just a fledgling organization, basically. It's a profession even, but we're developing as we go. We're building a really strong relationship among our communities, which is really fun. It's nice to have the bird's eye view of this. Our new technology, I'm sure y'all, has everybody been down to Adam's office to see the toys that he has, the Smart Fit, and yes, I know some of the faces there that know it. Well, I highly recommend you go down and check out some of the extra toys that we use in our Connections program. And as Erin mentioned, well-being is now throughout every level of care, and that's another way we're trying to make things more resident-centered. So if you had to change levels of care from, say, from independent residential living to personal care, it follows you. Well-being follows you. Your interests and your activities and your the things you enjoy doing, the things you're good at, the things you should continue to do. Your plan goes with you throughout all levels of care, and at each stage, everybody's speaking the same language. You know, our activities team speaks the same language as the well-being team. It's just more of a cohesive programming throughout all levels. That concludes my slides for the day. I do want to encourage you to please go down and see Adam. Where's my Adam slide? I guess it didn't make it. Oh, was there? No, there's a picture of him. It was there? Yeah. Oh, there he is. Okay, thank you for pointing it out. Yeah, so please go by and talk to David anytime, talk to Kim, go see Adam, sign up for our brain health program because it's really something special. He's doing great. So thank you for having me. Back over.
Well, this is the fastest community update I've ever done with you, and that means I didn't talk long enough. So we'll spare you that, and I'm going to invite Pastor David Deering up to say prayer, and then we can invite you to mingle with JD and Sue and Doug. Come on up, Pastor David.
Thank you for a wonderful afternoon. It's been a great day, and it's been really a great year here at Riverwood and Asbury. So I'm so thankful for so many things that are happening throughout all of our campuses. Let us pray. Thank you, O God, for all that you do as we work together for your kingdom, for we work together for the wellness of others, as we work on our own health and wellness. Continue, Lord, to guide and direct us as we work together as a team to meet the needs of our residents and to be able to be there for families and to be able to be there on all all levels of care and need. We are so grateful for our local community here and grateful to be part of a broader base. Be with us in all that we do, and may we give you praise and glory for all things.